This is Dylan Bowker with Sportskeeda MMA, and very excited to be talking to an individual competing at UFC 298, which goes down on February the 17th, in a very intriguing flyweight fight as Andrea Lee and Miranda Maverick step into the cage, and great having Miranda on the show and to chat a little bit. How's your day going there, Miranda?
Going good. It's already been a big day of training, and now I'm back home just doing errands and actually turning in all my applications and medicals for the fight coming up.
Yeah, for sure, getting on top of all that necessary stuff. And I guess just from the top, I wanted to give you a big congrats on getting promoted to BJJ black belt late last year.
Yeah, thank you. It was a super exciting milestone, of course. It's kind of what we all look forward to when we start jiu-jitsu, and now I'm finally here a little less than 10 years later.
Yeah, it just felt like a lot was going on around that point, too, in terms of like that silver medal you collected in IBJJF No-Gi competition and the nature of your last UFC finish and stuff like that. It just seems like a cool time to be getting the BJJ black belt. It seems like a lot of things with the submission grappling were really coming together in a certain sense.
Absolutely. Like, I felt like my submissions within my fights didn't necessarily, they don't make huge jumps in improvement, but I think getting the No-Gi medal, silver medal at Worlds kind of showed that I'm up there with the best. MMA, you can't really tell because, as they say, you get punched once, you turn into a brown belt, get punched again, you're a purple belt, and so on and so forth. But in the real competition against competition jiu-jitsu people who are training it every day, I think I was able to show that I can, compete with them, even though it's not what I focus on and do. So my coach was really happy with my performance and basically asked me, when do you want your black belt?
Yeah, no, that's awesome how everything came together there. And I'm kind of curious about how this fight came together, because I was seeing a post you had there where you were saying that you'd actually texted Lee if she wanted this fight, and that almost kind of came together thereafter. Can you give me some insights into how this one came together? Is that about the gist of it?
Yeah, it was pretty much the gist of it, but I've been trying to get a fight with Lee for a while. We've been acquaintances in the past. We've trained like a couple of days together before at other people's camps. And had a fine relationship, and I've messaged her in the past and asked her if she wanted to fight. She didn't have any problems with it, and it just never worked out, whether we got a different opponent or the timing didn't work out, whatever it was. And so this time around, I saw that she hadn't had a fight for a while, I hadn't, and so I messaged her, and she said, yeah, sure, late December, early January, and of course now it's mid-February, but a fight nonetheless, and finally made it happen after both of us messaged the matchmaker.
Yeah, and with Andrea being ranked number 14 at flyweight, like, does that represent something to you in as far as at least climbing the hierarchy of 125, or is it kind of just like an arbitrary sort of thing and you're more focused on just certain aspects of her stylistic game?
A lot of rankings in the UFC are based around politics, not even so much credible wins, losses, etc., or else we would see people in there that had only fought those higher-up girls, right? So I think some of it is just random, but I am glad to move up the ladder. I'm hoping that I continue to do so. I've been in the top 15 multiple times throughout my career, and I'm ready to be in there again for good instead of on this barrier of am I 15, am I 16, like where are we at right now? So happy to get in there, show that I am a stamp within the number 15 to 14 division there, and then move my way up.
Yeah, well said, and a lot to talk about with this fight and everything, but I kind of wanted to pick your brain about the broader state of what's going on in the UFC. Like, one of the things I kind of wanted your insights on was Kayla Harrison coming over to fight Holly Holm at UFC 300 and doing so at bantamweight, no less, after past efforts in higher weight divisions and everything. Like, what are your thoughts on that whole situation with Kayla coming in and all?
Yeah, I think that Kayla won't have the easiest time cutting weight. I've met her before. She's a very big girl, obviously has fought at 55 before, barely has even made 45, so going down to 35 is kind of crazy to me, but I'm sure that she took that under consideration and is working hard at it, and just like every other time that she's fought, will take this professionally as well. I think Holly Holm kind of said the same thing, but it is an exciting fight. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and both of them kind of duking it out. I've always thought Kayla was an absolute phenom within her division, but she's never really had real competition, and I think her getting down to that weight will definitely cause some problems for her, that she's never had in the past. So really looking forward to watching that fight and all the fights at UFC 300.
Yeah, no doubt. And it seems like Amanda Nunes is even potentially contemplating returning. Like, what would your, thoughts be on Nunes returning? I mean, the GOAT of, women's MMA, one of the great martial artists of all time. Like, what would your thoughts be on a potential Nunes return? She's been talking about it a bit.
I have no doubt that she will. I think it becomes one of those things that once people retire, their stock almost goes up more, and so they get potentially paid more when they come back, especially with how much fandom, so to speak, that she had. And I think that she will end up coming back, even if it's for like a 1 or 2 fights, to kind of put her stamp on the current GOAT of that time.
Yeah, and in talking about fighters with championship pedigrees, either outright champions or people who have fought for titles, it seems like you've been getting in some great work lately. Like, I saw you have a Shark Tank with Raquel Pennington, at least per Instagram, and also some work with Caitlin Chikagian at Easton Training Center. So yeah, I'd love to see that. Can you speak to the quality of some of the recent work you've been able to get in ahead of UFC 298?
Yeah, Raquel's a very regular training partner, as well as Tisha coming back from having her baby. Caitlin Chikagian came down for a few weeks for this camp, which was awesome to have her in there working with me. There's just a lot of skilled people that I work with on a regular basis. Rose Namajunas, I've gotten several rounds with her for this camp. So all the above leading up to my fight has just been awesome, having different bodies, different styles to come in there, whether it's they're faster than me or they're a little bit bigger than me or maybe they're more skilled than me, and having all of that world-level talent in the training room pushing me to be better. And I've said it a lot to everyone this camp, this has been the most improving camp I've had in a very long time, as far as not necessarily focused on cutting weight or making sure my conditioning's on point like I usually have to right away because they're short notices, but instead we focused a lot on technique and just getting better in specific positions this camp.
Yeah, I love to hear about that. And I guess in terms of like what you might see from your opponent, Andrea Lee, coming up here, like I'm curious as to what your thoughts might be on some of her better stylistic attributes and just her overall resume and all.
Yeah, so I think that she's got pretty good taekwondo. Like, her kicks are really good. Like I said, I've trained with her before, so kind of felt her before, and we felt each other before. I think that she has great kicks. I think that her speed and her volumes, her strength, I think that my strength is going to be an advantage, and my grappling my grappling resume as a whole is going to be better than hers. But she's been working on her wrestling a lot. I think we can tell that in her last few fights. Even though they've been losses, I think that her Macy Barber fight was very close. If nothing else, I thought it was a robbery, to be honest. I thought she won that fight, and she did really well with her wrestling in that one and putting it together. It's not like her losses have been against, unranked people. They've been against some of the best. So looking forward to go in there and test all my skills against her. I've been really working on my striking and putting it together myself. So it'll be a fun match.
Yeah, for sure. And something I kind of wanted to touch on because like Sportskeeda MMA is looking at more, I guess, just inspirational kind of uplifting stories, fighters overcoming adversities and, inspiring people from it thereafter. I think a hugely inspiring thing that I was even noticing with you was just that journey you had where your left eye was completely blind in the 3rd round of your UFC 289 fight. I mean, just being able to overcome everything that I imagine was associated with that there. Can you kind of talk about your journey through all of that and everything? Because, I mean, hugely inspirational to come out of that as you did.
Yeah, I mean, when I was supposed to have my UFC debut back in 2020, I found out that both of my retinas were torn and had to do emergency surgery. So ever since then, I've been very cautious when I train, making sure we don't get poked in the eyes too much, and if we do, trying to fight through it. But we can't help when I get scared. Basically the fight against Jasmine, I had a bad optical concussion, and it made my eye go blind for about 30 minutes or so. And it was very scary. I thought I had re-torn my retina again, and I had already spoke with my family that if that happens again, I'm done fighting. The risk is very great that I can go blind. If it happens again, and repeated injuries on that stuff pretty much mean that I'm going to have permanent damage. So it was very scary in the fight, and I kind of went into survival mode and therefore did not perform near at my best. But Jasmine was also on point that night, so kudos to her. But yeah, scary, and now we've gotten back through it, and I'm trying to get to the point where I'll tell my coaches this time instead of being like, well, I'm scared that the medicals are going to find out and stop the fight. I've never been finished in a fight, and I remember that going through my mind at the time and thinking that the doctors were going to come in and stop it if I said anything.
So you almost just wanted to not mention it and push through so as to not be stopped for the first time.
Right. I thought surely I can get through this, even though my mental wasn't really at a great point, and just push through, almost like I can finish this fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you even go about compartmentalizing something like that? I think that goes beyond what a lot of people could even fathom in a lot of ways.
Uh, it is hard, I just say that a lot of this game is mental to begin with, and for me, it's the why of why I do this sport, and for me, it's the end goal. The end goal is to be with my family on the ranch, have my living taken care of because investments that I've made now. And so everything that I do within this career is being put towards my future, not towards having a new car or towards a better life now, but a better life for the future and for hopefully my children in the future. And that's what I go into the cage every time thinking about, is this person in front of me is trying to take that dream from me. And the same happens with injuries. I try my best to stay healthy and train healthy, be around a team that wants the best for me and coaches that want the best for me. And I think I've done a good job so far, and the move to Colorado has been great for that as well.
That's cool. I mean, obviously, I imagine you're motivated to fight a high level of competition, but it also seems like maybe fighting the high level of competition is something to maybe facilitate some of those aforementioned dreams you have there. Is that kind of what you're saying, almost like your greater kind of purpose, your why, almost?
Yeah, exactly. And to me, fighting is temporary. Any way you cut it, it's a temporary career. And I treat it like that. Like, I make sure that I have investments outside of this and plan ahead of my career, and know that every time that I step into the cage that I'm not just a fighter. I have all these other things going for me, so I can put it all on the line when I go in there and fight, because I don't have anything to worry about. I don't have this sense of desperation every time I walk into the cage.
And obviously many great moments to be had in the future, but I guess just up until this juncture, because we talked about a lower moment you were able to overcome and show that fortitude. Like, I guess at this juncture in your career, what would represent like a high mark or a particularly memorable moment for you?
I mean, obviously I want to go in and get a finish against Andrea. I've done it before against people who they didn't think I'd be able to, and I'm ready to go in there, whether it be by submission or TKO, going in there and getting the finish. I would really like to get a bonus. That's been one of my goals since joining the UFC, and I always laugh because every time that I have an amazing performance, it seems like everyone on that card has an amazing performance. And every time I have a crappy performance, everybody else has a crappy performance. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully, if I get some amazing performance, not everybody else on the card has crazy knockouts and stuff.
Yeah, it's like the quality of your performance dictates like the surrounding quality of the performances almost. There's something going on there, it sounds like.
Right. It's just funny because, when I got the TKO in the first round, or when I've gotten submissions, it seems like everybody else gets submissions or somehow butts me out of the line for bonuses. So hoping one of these times it sticks.
Yeah, and I guess that just shows the versatility in the game too, because as much as we were just a bit before talking about the armbar finish in the Cachoeira fight, you definitely have the striking-based finishes under your belt too, and stuff like that. So yeah, I love to see it. Just shows the versatility in the game and everything like that, and where you can take it for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess like one of the high mark kind of moments for me that I was thinking of for you was when you were part of that Phoenix, tournament a bit ago, the Invicta tournament. I just thought that was so cool, a different experience. You don't get to see large in part in MMA, but just, a cool thing that Invicta was able to do. I guess I just kind of thought to bring that up.
And I apologize if I didn't answer the question correctly. Yes, the highlight moments of my career were definitely the Invicta tournament or just my UFC debut. Coming in there and getting the TKO in the first round doctor stoppage was just an amazing moment for me, because it was like that stamp on, wow, I've worked so hard, spent 5 years getting to this point, had the retina surgeries that I'd recovered from, and for that to be my statement debut was pretty exciting.
Yeah, and you were talking about some outside endeavors you have on the go. I was noticing you had like a pickle business going on. I think that's pretty cool. Like, when did Prowler Pickles get going there?
So actually, December is basically when I started. I was pickling for my family and posted a story about it. And I had a few people reach out to me and say, hey, would you sell some of those? And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Let me go for it. And just kind of dove in, and still have a lot on the horizon as far as FDA approval and getting it into retail stores that I'll focus on after my fight. But right now I have online sales that people can go on there and get them shipped anywhere in the U.S. or Canada or Mexico, and anywhere else that they ask me to and message me, and we can work out shipping at prowlerpickles.com. And I have 10 different flavors, and that's continuing to grow too. I'm actually having a barbecue pickle that's hopefully going to be officially on the website by end of this week. And I also have pickle juice that I sell.
And that seems like something fighters are getting more savvy and perceptive with, just really, like you said. I mean, you have outside investments too, but even with this business, just utilizing the platform you presently have to spotlight it. Like, how important is it to also have the, I guess, different revenue streams and utilize the nature of this moment? It seems like you're very aware of that and savvy with it.
I try to be. That's one part of our career, whether I have this platform or not. It's important to go out there and be an entrepreneur if you don't have other things going on. And for me, this is something that even if it's not for my future, I can pass on to other family members to keep going. And it's a skill that I've had since I was a child, the whole homesteading thing of making our own food and stuff. So why not use that to your advantage in a world where not as many entrepreneurs are able to get started nowadays?
Yeah, definitely a good way to look at it. I guess kind of redirecting the focus to some of the broader aspects of this upcoming card here. Like, I'm curious what your thoughts are on the main event with Alexander Volkanovski defending his featherweight title against Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, I think that Volkanovski will do well. I'm hoping he does. I'm rooting for him. Other than that, to be honest with you, I don't pay as much attention to my own cards. I know that sounds kind of silly, but because I'm so focused on my own, I kind of just ignore everything else that's happening on the card. Like, until last week, I wouldn't have been able to tell you who the headliner was.
No, I mean, really makes sense as you describe it. Like, you have paramount focus on your own matchup, coming up, which makes a great deal of sense. I mean, maybe this is kind of in line with that as well, or perhaps not. Like, does that also extend to being so hyper-focused on this matchup that maybe you're not, having that peripheral awareness of maybe some of the other flyweight contenders, and as far as like other people you could face going forward here? Like, is it just purely locked into this one? I would think so, but thought to ask, I suppose.
I mean, right now, for that card is specifically focused on my fight. But I'll be talking to coaches and management and looking up stuff myself as we get closer to the fight and seeing what flyweights are available to be calling out after the fight. Ariana Lipsky versus Karine Silva, that was going to be some good names on there, but they just got matched up, and I don't really want to have a fight 8 months from now, so those are probably out of the loop. So you have to be careful of who you call out and make sure that they aren't already booked so that it's not a useless call out.
Yeah, no, it's just an interesting landscape. Like, I saw a bit ago you were mentioning Erin Blanchfield and saying you can even see her cementing herself as champion this calendar year. Just to say, a lot of like great contenders out there, and be interesting to see how things shake out and all.
Oh, absolutely. I think Manon Farrow versus Erin Blanchfield is an awesome fight to watch. I think Erin's going to be a new title holder by the end of 2024. I also think Valentina's still in that top 1 to 2 right now. I think Alexa Grasso will not be holding that title for long. Even though I like her, I think she did a great job on capitalizing in their first fight. And then the second one, there was a lot of controversy of who actually won. Everybody wants a trilogy, but I think that that's kind of silly to do all right in a row. Instead, I think that they should have the winner of Manon Farrow versus Erin Blanchfield fight for the title next, and then kind of mix up the division by doing that.
Yeah, no, for sure. A lot of exciting things on the horizon, for sure. And I mean, chief within that for me is this Andrea Lee fight. Definitely one I was excited for when I saw the announcement, and yeah, thought to reach out to get your insights. So I appreciate you making the time, Miranda, but I want to be respectful of your schedule, as I was kind of saying earlier. So to that point, is there maybe a final parting thought you'd like to add as we're kind of ramping things up here, though?
Yeah, absolutely. One, I'm actually doing a watch party this weekend on Saturday for the upcoming UFC fight night. So if you guys want to check out that, I just got done posting it on my Instagram at Fear the Maverick. So go check it out. You can click the link in my bio, and for free, come join the watch party that I'm doing. I also have my website, fearthemaverick.net, that's in that bio. That you guys can go there, support by getting shirts, hats, gloves, signed memorabilia, whatever you're interested in from that perspective. And I also have my Prowler Pickles that you heard us talking about on this interview. So go check out prowlerpickles.com if you're interested in any pickles.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff on the go. Love to hear that. And again, to reiterate, thanks so much for coming on ahead of UFC 298. Definitely excited for this Andrea Lee fight on February 17th. But until then, you have a good rest of your night, Miranda. And yeah, just thanks for the time and everything.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a great day.